We have the pleasure of welcoming Kate Nasser today to our interview series, Leaders Hum. I'm Sumita Mariam from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Kate Nasser is a people skills coach who has an experience of over 30 years. She is a well-renowned keynote speaker and leadership coach who also conducts workshops for increasing the engagement and efficiency of teams. The vast variety of experiences in different phases of her career in a diverse range of areas makes it all the more interesting. We are happy to have someone of her stature speak to us in this interview series. Welcome, Kate. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Great. So, Kate, moving on to our interview, my first question for you would be, you've had an amazing journey. 34 years. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? How is the journey to becoming a people skills coach?
Yes, exactly. So 30 years, which when I say it, it's hard to believe, but it has been 30 years. And I came out of college with a bachelor's degree in mathematics. And I went to work in computers, because that was a seemingly good connection. And I was very technical, but I was also very interested in interacting with people, and I was good at it. And what I found was that my colleagues in the computer, departments, they were very good technically, but they didn't enjoy interacting really with other people. So after about, I think I was in corporate work for about maybe 10 years. And I left and I started my own business to teach communication skills and interaction and people skills to others, especially to computer techies. Because instead of the mainframes, where you could be in a back room coding computer, programs, everything was becoming on the desktop, with PCs and all these things. And the computer techies were required to interact with non-technical professionals, and they were not happy about it. So I started teaching, and it includes leadership training and teamwork training and customer service training, all the issues about interacting with other people and doing it really well. And it has been a very exciting journey.
Oh, that's great. It's amazing. And you do focus a lot on interactions. So how would you say interactions are important in building an employee engagement strategy for an organization?
Yeah. It's amazing to me that there are still many leaders who don't think that's the key to engagement. You can't lead and engage by issuing orders or only interacting with people when you need something from them or when they make a mistake, because respectful interactions are what build trust. And leadership is all about trust. You want people to engage, you want them to speak up, give their opinions, innovate and do all these things. Then you have to engage them every day from the time you see them, even if it's, Zoom, Skype and such, or whether you happen to be in the same physical location as they are. It's really quite irrelevant. The point is, they need to know that you care about them, that you believe in them, that you want them to succeed, that you will help clear the obstacles, and so forth. And if you don't interact, how are they going to know those things?
Yeah. Oh, that's true. That's very true. But in this scenario of the pandemic, and as you said, everyone's working from home, and even leaders are managing their teams from home. So,
Yep.
what advice would you give leaders who are, managing a remote team right now?
hmm I actually thought about this in advance because I thought you might be asking this question, given the fact that we're, all in sort of lockdown mode. Ooh, even that word
Yeah,
sounds kind of crazy, right? And little
it does.
isolating. So I wrote down 5 steps because I think when people can see it as a, very clear cut, then it's easier to do. So step
Yeah,
number 1, don't call it remote working. It's virtual. In other words, now everybody is working virtually. Here's what happens, even in non-lockdown mode, people have been working from home sometime. They do a working kind of thing. And the leaders in the home office, they say, well, those of you who are working remotely, well, the problem is that the word remotely means less important. In other words, now it's not so much because everybody's home, right? But if there's a corporate office, it becomes the important place to be. And then people who are working in other sites are less important. That's a problem. So step 1, don't call it remote working. Call it, we are all working virtually anywhere now, right? So it's virtual work. Step number 2, communicate very clearly and communicate more than you did before. Not everybody is used to or enjoys working from home. Some people love it, but it can be very isolating. And when people feel isolated, their need for communication goes up. So make sure that you are communicating with your employees every day. It could be on the phone, it could be in a Zoom session like this, it could be via email, but make sure you are communicating and be very, very clear. If you're trying to explain something, it's going to be this new procedure or we'll have to do things differently, make sure that you slow down a little bit, use some visual aids if you're in a Zoom session. Go step by step, because when people feel isolated, their ability to even absorb information and listen and grasp all of this actually goes down. It changes a little bit. So make sure that you're very clear. Step number 3, provide them with the latest information you have, whether it's about the work they're doing, how the company is going to handle sick pay during this lockdown, whatever it is, because without information, people who are working from home and feel isolated feel that they cannot be successful. And there's nothing worse, especially in what we're doing right now. We already have the stress of this whole pandemic. You don't want them to feel the stress of failure. That's like, doubly bad. Step number 4, make sure you solve the technical problems and obstacles that may be arising, whether it's an internet problem, email access, anything. Make sure that you as a leader are helping to solve those problems, whether it's you go talk to your co-peer leader in the IT department or whatever, because right now this is the lifeline, right? You and
yeah,
I are speaking, we're on opposite sides of the world, so we'd be speaking this way anyway, but this is the lifeline. And if that lifeline isn't working, the stress level goes way up. So as a
yeah,
leader, make sure you are doing everything to remove the obstacles of them working at home. And then lastly, make sure you ask them how they're doing. Some people are working from home, but their children are home as well. So they're
yeah,
trying to deal with a 5-year-old and do the work and deal with how are we going to get groceries, and did my child touch that mailbox? Do I need to wash the child? There's a lot of stress going on. So make sure you're asking them how they're doing we're all in this together. What can I do to help you? And that sort of thing.
Wow, that's like a guidebook. This answer is like a guidebook to all leaders. Thank you for that. And like being a former techie, and we use so much technology nowadays in this situation. So, what do you think is the role that technology can play in creating a good employee experience? Like, do
Mm-hmm.
you believe that digital workplace hubs are the future?
I do believe these hubs or portals are definitely here to stay, and they will grow um, in use and in comfort. Uh, the thing that's most important is that whatever technology is being used for the employee experience, it's very important that it's well designed, and I mean well designed as in intuitive. The part that I loved the most when I was a techie, I started out doing, backroom computer things, but then I moved into designing the interfaces, coding and designing the interfaces that the customers would use. A customer could be the employee in a company, or it could be an external customer. And it was amazing to me how just positions of icons and the language we used on the screen, all of these things, you must make it intuitive, you must make it easy to use, and of course it must be stable so that it's not going down 5 times a day. Very frustrating for people. So you want to make sure that the technology is it's as easy to use as picking up and dialing a telephone. I think that leaders and managers, now that they're seeing that people are working from home and so forth, I think besides there being these digital hubs and portals for people to work anywhere, I think that leaders and managers have to really now shift their mindset from that traditional picture of people have to be in the office, and I have to be able to see somebody to know that they're working. Working from home has been around for decades now. I mean, I remember when it was first put in, it was called telecommuting, and then it was called teleworking and so forth. And it's amazing that a lot of leaders and managers, they continued to treat that as different, and they had trouble managing people who were working, from their home. And they almost looked at it a little like, are they really working, or, are they home taking care of their kids or something? So it's very important that leaders start to really move into the realm now. If we're going to have digital hubs where people can work from anywhere, leaders and managers have to lead, and they have to measure more from accomplishments as opposed to, were you at your desk for 8 hours straight?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But do you think, once we come out of this pandemic, like the situation right now is really bad, and everyone's very, very much accustomed to working from home, and they're at peace right now with the situation. But how do you think the future of life and work is going to change once we come out of this?
That is the question of the day. Everybody's asking it. Everybody's talking about it. I do think that this very difficult, very, in some ways, very sad, pandemic is finally going to prove that people can work from anywhere. The issue is going to be, not everybody's going to want to work from home. They've actually been doing studies now for years after they introduced telecommuting, teleworking. And not everybody liked it. There are a lot of people who wanted that social interaction of being in a workplace together. So I think they're going to have to finally get around to saying, all right, there may be some jobs where you have to be on the job. Think about it. In a hospital, for example, right? The doctors, the nurses, and techs, they have to physically be there, right? And there may be some jobs in every industry where that's the case. But if this working from home, which is being, I think, proven now can be very effective, Are they going to give people a choice? Or are they going to say, well, gee, it's a lot less expensive to have people working from home. Why do we need these big office buildings? And then they decide now everybody's going to work from home except the people who physically, have to be in the space for a particular reason. Well, not everybody's going to want to work from home. And even if they say, well, that's too bad, you have to work from home, what's going to happen to the issue of childcare? It's one thing to say, yes, there's a lot of that's going to come out of this pandemic lockdown. Are the leaders and managers really thinking ahead now to say, how are we going to craft and fashion all of this, to work? And the other thing that I might suggest that could help that, leaders and managers, if you're watching this podcast interview right now, think about right now asking your employees if they're interested. You don't have to force them, but ask them if they'd be willing to keep a journal of what they are going through while working from home. And when this is over, they could share it with you as they go day by day. But once this is over, they could submit a summary of their insights of what they went through working from home. This is a tremendous resource for leaders and managers to then be able to look at that and see all their employees. This one had this struggle, this one had that struggle, so that as businesses try to, as you say, what's the new normal, right? What's it going to look like after this? You're going to have a treasure trove of information if you ask your employees to journal what they're going through while they are home.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm definitely writing a journal starting tomorrow, and I'm suggesting it to my teammates for sure. That's wonderful. I love the idea. And so decision making. So that is something like everyone's struggling with right now with respect to the future. We don't know what's going to happen next. So how do you think AI and automation will help in driving decision making and support?
AI also has been around for a very long time. In fact, my second corporate job, we were starting to investigate AI in its very early stages. And my goodness, have we come so far. And the digital age has driven that, because AI is basically a learning tool, right? In other words, it's learning from data. And back then, 30 years ago, the data, we'd have to go to an expert, interview them, code that into this. It was, pretty kludgy. But now with the data that's everywhere, think, for example, customer service, customer experience. It's becoming very AI driven now, because there's all of this data. You can, the machine can suggest to the customer, oh, you might also like to buy this or that, because the data is showing them a pattern of what this particular customer buys and likes. And so that's a form of artificial intelligence. So I do think that every industry will become, over the next 10 years, is going to become even more driven by this data-driven AI. The question is, for leaders and managers, are you willing to share decision-making with your employees? One of the reasons decision-making has always been hierarchical, besides that it was just the way people wanted it, it was simply because people at a higher level, for example, often had access to information that people at the lower level did not have. They also generally had more experience, etc. Well, once AI, data-driven AI comes into the picture, and you can give that data and the AI to your employees at the staff level, they can become more empowered to do more significant work. The question is, will leaders and managers feel comfortable empowering employees at that level? Will they say to themselves, what's going to happen to my job if employees are empowered? But the truth is, leaders and managers, you will still have a job. It's just that your job will be different in nature. You will become more of a facilitator and a coach and working to clear obstacles as opposed to making all the decisions yourself.
Yeah, but organizations worldwide, they are boasting of having an employee-centric culture. Do you
Mhm.
think that's very relevant? Do you think they're keeping their word?
That's a tough question. Um, of course, I can't speak for them. I will say this much. No matter how employee centric you think you are, there's room for improvement
Yeah.
because, and I understand why. Corporations, bottom line is, especially big public corporations, they have stockholders. They have to constantly focus on, leadership of the corporation, the stock price, and so forth, just as an example. And when you're doing that, I'm not so sure you're as employee centric as you think you might be. However, the good news is there are examples of companies out there who have become very employee centric by engaging their employees about the employee experience and making substantive changes. So if you really want to become more employee centric, you better be including your employees in the decisions about the employee experience. Don't just have them fill out a survey and let's say 1 to 5 and you're getting like a 3.8 and you think, oh, that's pretty good, we're employee centric. Well, a survey does not mean you're employee centric. You have to be engaging them in, what experiences, can we make better for you? And there are companies out there and you can read up on them and see what they're doing.
But do you also think that technology can help? Do you think the human resources should spend more on technology? Or do you think that can improve employee engagement or experience to some level?
I do. I think that HR has had a tough road over the years. They've been tasked with, um, you know, leading all of these engagement, employee experience improvements, and yet because they are part of infrastructure in most companies, not part of revenue generation, they are often not given the latest technologies to do the job. Uh, so I think that most HR departments, again, you have to look, in each company, but I think most HR departments need technology improvements and would love to have them, especially when it comes to the employee engagement portals that they're trying to together. So let's say I want to access maybe tuition reimbursement, right? I'm an employee. I want to go back to school part-time. The company says they'll pay for it. How hard is it for an employee to tap that benefit? So a lot of HR departments want to have really good employee benefit portals that, again, they have to be well designed, they have to be easy to use, they have to be secure with private, with the employees' private, information. They have to be stable systems. So I think that HR departments would love to have more technology and the employees would love to be able to use it.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. I completely agree with you on that one. So, okay, the final question I have for you. Any important sound bites you want to leave our viewers?
Yes, it's interesting. I wrote a book 2 years ago, which continues to sell. It's called Leading Morale, and writing it 2 years ago, I could never have envisioned that we would be in a pandemic lockdown where morale would be critical. But nonetheless, it's very important. And I think what I want to say is that if you want to lead employees, whether it's in an everyday mode or during this very difficult lockdown time, you must treat them with dignity and respect. Morale is all about dignity. it is not about pizza on Fridays or, donuts with the coffee or whatever. It's about communicating with them, engaging them, empowering them. Let them know they belong. Belonging, believe it or not, belonging is a huge, it comes up on when you study morale, it comes very high up on the list. Employees want to know that they want to be treated with dignity and respect. They want to know that they belong. They want to know that they have a purpose and that their work affects not just the company, but the customers of the company. So there are so many things that leaders and managers can do to show employees that they matter. That is it. That's what morale is all about. Certainly it's fun to have birthday parties and food and all that. It's wonderful. But I can tell you there's so many stories about people where leaders and managers treat the employees like dirt. And then the next thing you know, they're saying, oh, come on, we're all going out for a happy hour. Huh? I don't want to go out for happy hour with you. I'm not happy. What the heck is that? So most important. And if you engage, if you treat them with dignity and respect, if you show them that they matter, yes, hold them accountable for their work and so forth. But you have to do it in a way that they know that they matter. And that is how you lead morale. And that is how you get maximum contribution and high performance out of people. So I hope, that my book will help others. It's still selling. I'm glad to see that people are still finding it. People that haven't known about it are finding it. It's available on Amazon.com. And there's a lot more resources on my website too, katenasser.com. So I'm here to help. And I want to help, and I believe that we will all get through this.
Yeah, I'm definitely reading the book.
Wonderful.
So Kate, it was wonderful having you. We learned a lot. I learned a lot personally. The past half an hour was amazing for me. And I'm sure it'll be for our viewers too. Thank you so much for coming to our interview series. And we hope to keep in touch with you.
Please do. And thank you so much for having me on. I think this is a wonderful series that you're doing.
Thank you.